One of the things we talk about here on the Common Sense Academy and in regards to sovereign citizens is how you get different flavors of the movement, right? So some sovereign citizens claim that it was the 14th Amendment that turned the United States government into a corporate government. Some will tell you that it was the Articles of Confederation that are still in place, and some will tell you there is an international banking conspiracy that has flipped the world on its head and created an illegitimate class of what they sometimes refer to as slaves. Well, today we have a sovereign citizen out of Australia. Now, I'm going to say I learned some interesting things here about Australia while looking into this situation. I'm going to comment on those more at the end, but we're going to run through this article about a sovereign citizen in Australia who was arrested, and then we're going to watch some videos that she posted. There's really a treasure trove of sovereign citizen ideology from this woman. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Common Sense Academy. I'm your host, Joe Palmetto, Joe the Lawyer. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Also, please consider buying my book. I wrote a book on sovereign citizens. You can see it in the description below. It's available on Amazon for just under $10. Okay. What? I can't forget. I got some fancy new cups. Don't tread on me. Look, I know that's a sovereign citizen line. But I don't mean it on that sense. In that sense, I just mean it in the sense of having a more limited government. All right, everybody, raise your cup, your glass in the airs. Cheers with me. It tastes better. Sandy Creek sovereign citizen posts video after failing to appear in court on firearms offense. This was Monday, November 1st, 2021, so I am a little bit behind on this story. A warrant has been issued for the arrest of a Barossa Valley woman after the sovereign citizen failed to appear in court for a second time. Solange Goods, 42, was arrested at her farm in Sandy Creek earlier this year after police alleged she threatened them when they came to the property to check if registered guns were properly secured. Ms. Goods' husband, Toby Lockyer, was also charged with 2 firearms offenses and hindering police. At the time, he said the guns were legally stored and owned. Ms. Goods failed to appear in the Adelaide Magistrates Court this morning. Her lawyer withdrew from the case, saying he was no longer able to represent her interests. Looks like that's a photograph of the property right there. Claim not subject to court. Ms. Goods wrote a letter to the court that outlined her belief that she had no obligation to appear in court. Oh, if only it were so easy. If only it were that easy. They've taken up enough of our life and we just want to be free to get on living our life in peace lawfully according to the real law of the land here and the honestly informed will of the people, not the cult-distorted and manipulated information that is pushed out through the mainstream media and used to defame us, she said in a YouTube video posted on Tuesday. I believe this is a picture of Ms. Goods and Toby Lockyer, who is her husband, I believe. Ms. Goods previously failed to appear at the Elizabeth Magistrates Court for failing to comply with directives from the sheriff's officers. Instead, she said in her letter on Tuesday she was subject only to the international land law Bora courts since October 13th. Ms. Goods, who describes herself as an energy coach and positive change maker, runs a group called the People's Peace Alliance from her rural property. Now, I do agree with Ms. Goods in one aspect, and that is that you have to be very critical about what you hear from the mainstream media. So I'm on board with having a great degree of skepticism when it comes to the mainstream media. However, I still respect the rule of law and believe that everyone should respect the rule of law set up in the governments of their land, especially democratic governments where the people have participated in the structure and framework of the government. Of course, you're not always going to agree with what the government does, but the government helps to maintain law and order. That's the purpose of a government. They have a monopoly on the use of force, and that's why citizen participation is so important to help protect against the tyranny of government. So I understand a bit where she's coming from as far as being skeptical of government, being skeptical of the media, but you have to respect the government, respect the rule of law. You really got to pick your fights and know what cross to die on. So after this was printed, this was updated Tuesday, November 2nd, posted Monday, November 1st. Let's take a look at the statement that she issued, a public notice to Adelaide Magistrates Court.
Welcome. My name is Solange Ellen, and I'm recording this public notice to the Adelaide Magistrates Court. I'm just going to screen share and read the notice. Okay. So, public notice to Adelaide Magistrates Court, to whom it may concern. Re Adelaide Magistrates Court Lawful Sovereignty. My name is Solange Solly Elm Goods of Natural Nation, 15 Muddy Road, Sandy Creek, South Australia. I'm writing on behalf of my husband, Toby Graham Lockyer, and I, on Thursday, the 23rd of September, 2021, my husband, Toby, and I were attacked at our peaceful family home by a militarised SAPO operation that was widely publicised through the mainstream media as the Sandy Creek standoff. My husband, Toby, and I are both peaceful people who have been working in unpaid service with our community to bring people honest information to end the 233 years of ongoing genocidal occupation of the sovereign First Nations through the restoration of divine and natural law. We are both whistleblowers against the criminality of the death cult and the debt slave system that has laid false claim to our human family and our living earth. We are in standing with the truth and working to help co-create real-world peace and freedom for all who want to live together as brothers and sisters in our one human family, governed by love and good conscience via the Golden Rule. Toby and I are both severely traumatised by the SAPO attack on our family and the 22 days and 21 nights of completely unlawful, isolated imprisonment I was subjected to, and that my family, friends and community suffered through following the attack at the order of the Elizabeth Court. We do not have any faith or trust in the existing justice system, which is part of a corporate fraud operating here in the sovereign First Nations without any lawful sovereignty, without any real jurisdiction to law. Toby and I are both declared parties to our People's Treaty and People's Peace Alliance and are lawfully protected under international law as well as under divine and natural law, the real law of the land here in the sovereign First Nations. You are hereby notified that as of October 13th, 2021, complete cessation of claim to jurisdiction by all systems of corporate government and law on this continent to the real original nations, the international land law border courts, and the people has been declared as a matter of public and historic record. As such, we are under no obligation to appear in the Adelaide Magistrates Court, and we both choose not to for our own peace and protection and as a matter of conscience and good faith. We ask that the court respect the truth as is the real law of this sovereign First Nations land and leave us in peace now and in perpetuity in truth. Solange Ellen. Yeah, so that's it. We're not going. They've taken up enough of our life and Yeah, we just want to be free to get on living our life in peace lawfully according to the real law of the land here and the honestly informed will of the people, not the cult distorted and manipulated information that is pushed out through the mainstream media and that was used to defame us. You know, they've really painted us to be crazy people. And yeah, our friend Kylie has made a great joke of it, calling my husband the charismatic cult leader. Because we're in this cult of peace and freedom for everyone, where all you have to do is be responsible for yourself and be a good human. So, yeah, that's what, the powers that be have used as their reason to target us and to try and, kill us and then silence us and cause us so much stress and hardship that we can barely function. It's really evil. And, yeah, we don't want any part of that at all anymore. We just want to work with other good people to help as many people as we can and get on with our life in peace. So that's that. Thank you for those of you, who are with us and praying for us and supporting us. And yeah, we love you.
Well, Solange appears to be a fairly intelligent, well-spoken woman, comes across as very nice. I do have to directly criticize her beliefs. Again, the problem with sovereign citizens is that they lack an education on history and on context and on the roots of government, and especially a democratic republic type government. The truth of the matter is, every government, like Winston Churchill said, is terrible. Democracy just tends to be the best of the worst. He said something like that. Maybe not in those exact words. But democracy is based on a social contract between the government and the people, and the people get to participate in that government, but only to a certain degree. And this is a republic, right, where you get to vote for and elect representatives who then make the decisions for you. They may make decisions that you do not like. They may pass laws that you do not agree with or that you think are immoral. However, in order for a government to function, decisions and laws must be made in order to preserve law and order. A constitutional government is set up to protect the rights of minority groups, or no matter what, in certain circumstances, to protect against the tyranny of the majority. However, it does not change the fact that generally the majority is going to rule. Now, my own advice is, if you disagree with a particular law, there are ways to express your criticism of it and work towards changing it in a civil manner. But undermining the entire government as a whole, which is what sovereign citizens attempt to do, is highly destructive to the functioning of a peaceful and orderly society. So although these people claim under the banner of peace to be peaceful, that is not in reality what they are advocating for. They are advocating for anarchy, and there are plenty of countries where anarchy rules the day. But what that really means is that warlords and bands and roving groups of people with guns and arms rule the day, not the people. Trust me, ma'am. And although I haven't been to a country like this, I've read enough to know that is not the direction that you want to go. The reason you can live on your farm in a safe and peaceful and generally unbothered way is because of the system of government that you live under. Undermining that system is not peace. It is not love. Trust me, it does not lead to that. So let's take a look at a media interaction that she had later on. This was just a couple of days later, and as you gathered from the story, her and her husband were arrested due to a weapons check that Australian authorities were making. They resisted. She released that notice, and then the media came to talk to her.
No, they have no real authority. They have only falsely assumed authority under the fraudulent pyramid scheme, which is controlled by the international banking cartel. That's not we the people. That's not the living law of this real land. And we need to come together and learn the real law, because real law is about protecting people and protecting children and protecting our freedom and protecting the peace. It's not about attacking people in their homes with militarised police. They had machine guns pointed at my husband, my unarmed husband.
They won't need to if you come willingly.
I'm not going willingly with criminals. I do not trust them. They are abusers. SAPOL are hired guns, contractors that work for this corporate fraud. It's for-profit human trafficking. And they conspire with the DCP to steal children. They're professional child abduction teams.
And they work for banks. They kick people out of homes.
It's not for people, and it's not for child protection.
So you can sort of expect, I guess you can expect the police to turn up at your doorstep at any time now.
Well, you would know. You're obviously here before them, so you know more than us.
No, well, I was in court, so I heard.
Yeah, you know more than us then. So you're telling the story.
Well, I won't go near them because I don't trust them. Because that was my mistake the first time. I left this boundary, the sacred protection of this is a spiritual sanctuary that has been claimed under divine and natural law. With full respect for the sovereign First Nations and for our divine creator. And I left and I walked down to the end of this road where the police were, and I had my little People's Peace Alliance sign. And I said to Officer Kevin, do you stand with the pedos or with the people? And he ignored me like I didn't even speak. And I asked him again, do you stand with the pedos or with the people? And then he spoke into his little walkie-talkie and said, stand by, stand by. And then I asked him one more time, do you stand with the pedos or with the people? And then he said, stand by. And the two police women across the road rushed over and grabbed me with force and dragged me across the road, and then threw me against the car, and then, searched me, groped me, and then dragged me unwillingly. I didn't want to go with police. I don't trust police. I do not feel safe in their custody at all. And then, pushed me into the back of the van and abducted me.
For no crime.
I didn't hurt anyone.
For no crime that you've done.
I've actually worked really hard in unpaid service of our community for years trying to get honest information out. And I tried at first to go through all of the, authorities, the proper channels of the MPs and, all of those things to find remedy. And it all just fell on deaf ears. And I couldn't work out why until I started to understand the truth about the difference between the fraudulent corporate law, which has no place here in the sovereign First Nations.
So what happened when the police turned up today?
Well, I won't be dealing with them. We've got no contract. They kept me hostage and forced me to sign that bail agreement under threat of being held indefinitely. So it was blackmail. It was torture, it was blackmail. And there's another woman, Kate Rayleigh, who's being held in isolation. It was more than 100 days when I got out. And she is being tortured mercilessly. And I've, again, written to the authorities to make them aware of Kate, but she doesn't have anyone on the outside. Like, I had family and community that knew I was there. She doesn't have anyone, and they're merciless. They're cruel.
So then you've got these serious aggravated assault charges against you. How do you...
Based on what? Where's the evidence?
Until you go to court.
No, they can publish that evidence. They have my permission.
Because it's before a court.
Well, it's a fraud court.
You can have your say in court if you.
They can come to the Bora court.
You can have your say in court.
No, they can come to a court of people that I trust. The people that I know are honest.
Not a recognised court.
Recognised by who?
Well, the law of the land.
Oh no, that's incorrect.
Their court is not recognised by the law of the land.
The law of the Australian Constitution. So
that has no legitimacy here because the sovereign First Nations never ceded their sovereignty. So
That's right.
The Constitution and the Commonwealth never had.
Where is this going to end? How do you see this ending?
Well, hopefully people will wake up and...
In peace. That's what we want. The People's Peace Alliance So that's us coming together with our elders, original elders and lawmen and lawwomen, to actually sit down, we the people, and make a plan, a peaceful plan for ourselves for how do we actually turn this all around and end all these crimes against our community, end the COVID fraud, end the 233 years of genocidal occupation, end the child trafficking, end the human trafficking, actually make things good for human beings.
Sounds nice. Please, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Please get the truth out as much as you can, because their plans for what they're going to do is just to escalate all of this controlling evil. And they've written Emergency Powers Act to give themselves, sorry, my mouth's dry, powers to be able to remove children under this COVID fraud and take them away to COVID isolation facilities. And when I was in there, I was kept in isolation for the whole time. So it was 22 days, 21 nights of isolation, and cut off from communication with my family. And it's torture. And they can do that to the children under this act. So they can just bring police and, whoever they decide is the proper authority to anyone's house and take the child without the parents' consent. And take them to a COVID isolation facility where they won't be given contact, which is what's happened to Donna with Takara. They took her on Thursday, no evidence, they did no due diligence, they've just taken her daughter and they've withheld all contact. They won't even let her grandparents ring her to say, we love you and we know where you are. We don't know where she is, we don't know who she's with.
We don't know if she's okay.
Yeah, they've just taken her, and they told Donna she could have contact yesterday, and then a few hours later they rang her and cancelled that. And it's emotional torture. It's just torture. And
there's hundreds of stories of that though. Hundreds we can give you.
Donna and I have been doing, in as well as raising awareness about the COVID fraud and learning law and working with the First Nations people, we've been supporting the other parents. So Powerful Parents Uniting. Mum Melissa Ord had her baby stolen from the Women's and Children's Hospital.
Yeah, see, they'll stop filming now.
Last August.
That's when they stopped.
She had a baby stolen 2 hours after she was born.
Okay, so we're going to stop right there. See, one of the problems with sovereign citizens is that they sometimes have some legitimate arguments, but because their whole framework and belief system is so crazy overall, it delegitimizes even the legitimate arguments that they may have. So, first of all, she keeps talking about the international land law, Bora courts, and also the laws of the First Nations, etc. This is an individual who is almost certainly of European descent or foreign descent from Australia. While I do believe that native peoples in countries like the United States and Australia should get special rights, I don't believe that she is one of those people. Now, if she is advocating for those people, that's a different position, rather than claiming overall that the government is illegitimate and does not apply to her for one reason or another. Because to me, that's a step too far, even for these people of First Nations. I do think they should get some special benefits, and I support a lot of those programs. However, what sovereigns do is they hide under that guise in order to delegitimize the government overall. Moorish sovereign citizens do this in the United States. Non-Moorish sovereign citizens do it. It's on and on and on. She speaks about a genocidal occupation, and yeah, that's likely what happened. I don't know enough about Australian history, okay, but I have no doubt that the native peoples there were likely mistreated for a very, very long time by the Europeans who came there. So to trumpet that is one thing. To argue against the dismantling of the government overall is another. She mentions a debt slave system. She mentions an international banking cabal. These are all common tropes of the sovereign citizen movement. What they're truly advocating for is anarchy based on false facts and false history. Now, the legitimate arguments that she mixed in there, yeah, do I think it's extremely disturbing? And again, I don't know enough about Australia that they have these weird isolation camps set up for people who are coming in or leaving with COVID. I don't know all the details, but I can tell just from, what I do know that those things are very, very disturbing. So I'm sympathetic to her on that. And then what you have in Australia, and I know this is common in other countries, is when you own firearms, any person who owns a firearm must keep it registered. And I guess the police get to come and check on it occasionally. I don't believe in those laws either. I don't believe in those laws, but I do know that that is the law of the land in a lot of countries. For example, in Japan, where I lived for 2.5 years, firearms are strictly controlled. People can own firearms. They have to go through a pretty extensive process in order to get approved by the government to get a firearm. And then I believe it must be used for like hunting purposes only, or I think you can still own one for recreational shooting. But those laws do include allowing law enforcement. They make these checks. They go to the houses. They check on the firearms. Now, do I believe in those laws? No, but that is the law of the land in many, many countries. And it goes back to the original social contract, living in a democracy, etc., etc. You have an unwritten agreement with the government, at least in theory, upon the operation of these governments. Okay, even if you didn't specifically consent or have a contract in writing, these laws exist to keep peace and order, not advocate for anarchy. And again, I think she has, if you have a grievance with that particular law, contact your representatives. Engage in civil discourse in order to get the law changed. If this is the cross that they want to die on, so be it. But I think they're going to lose this battle in the long run, and they really need to check their belief system. So I don't know what the current status of this woman is. She had a court date that she didn't go to. It's my understanding a warrant was issued. She's still posting on her YouTube channel, so I don't think she was ever arrested on that. I believe it may have been resolved in some way. As she stated, she did a period of time in jail. Her court date may still be pending, so we will see more from this woman in the future. Australia has a strong community, I think, of sovereign citizens, and also a history of people setting up little microstates, because the continent is so big and yet it's so sparsely populated in certain areas. So we will update on this going forward. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Common Sense Academy. I'm your host, Joe Palmetto. Joe, the lawyer. I cover sovereign citizens, First Amendment auditors, and people behaving badly. I hope you enjoyed this video today of a sovereign citizen out in Australia who's been choosing the wrong cross to die on, in my opinion. Like my content, subscribe, share, think about buying my book on sovereign citizens. All right, everybody, have a great day.